Hey everybody, this is my first YouTube video, the very first one, ex-Bethelite. It's a new YouTube channel. Um, I am an ex-Jehovah's Witness, was a witness for many, many years, was born into the religion. Um, I've been out for probably 13, 14 years now. I've been out. So it's been a long journey to the point where I decided I wanted to start a YouTube channel, and I have things to say, things to get off my chest, tell my story, and the whole purpose of doing this channel is to perhaps reach a few people, tell my story. Maybe it'll help somebody else. My entire goal is to, if I just reach one person and help one person, um, and avert them from this dangerous cult, I will have done my job, and I'll well have fulfilled my purpose with this channel. So that's really the reason for doing the channel. This is my first video. It will be unedited. It will be I have a lot of things in my head that I want to get out, and I'm going to be doing a series of videos talking about my experiences, my background, my knowledge, um, pretty extensive knowledge of the religion, and I'll kind of dive into the history, my history with the religion, my family, all that good stuff. So this is my first video. Right now, I'll get into my name and all that stuff down the road. So right now, I'm just going to call myself ex-Bethelite. I was a Bethelite at one time. So on my mother's side, I was a fourth generation Jehovah's Witness. So her grandfather came into the religion probably, back in the early turn of the century, I don't know, 1910, 1920. So my mother was third generation. I was a fourth generation witness. My father was a second generation. His parents came in to the religion when he was a young boy, probably when he was 7 or 8 years old, pretty young. So he has a couple memories of celebrating Christmas, and then all of a sudden one year not celebrating it. So my father was a second generation, so I was a third generation on my father's side. So obviously born into the religion. Um, uh, you're indoctrinated from a young age, right? Going to meetings, it's just part of your life. So I grew up as a young lad, probably 5, 6 years old, up in outside of Cleveland, Ohio, which Ohio was a big center point for Jehovah's Witnesses. Cedar Point, Ohio, was a very big convention that happened back in the 1930s that really took the religion from the international Bible students to becoming Jehovah's Witnesses. And I'm not somebody who's going to give you all kinds of detailed facts. That's not the purpose of my channel. There's a lot of other channels, like Lloyd Evans' channels, John Cedars. He's going to go more into the accuracy of events and things like that. I'm not going to dive into that. There's other channels that do a much better job. I'm just going to talk about my experiences and how I grew up, and hopefully it helps somebody. That's the whole purpose of the channel. So I grew up in the religion. It's all I knew from a young age, going to meetings, field service. I was the typical model witness youth. I got baptized at the age of 16 years old. I think I just turned 16, so I was pretty young. But, a lot of people get baptized much earlier. There were young ones getting baptized at 10, 11, 12 years old when I was a young man. My parents had at least the common sense to wait till I was a little bit more of a reasoning mind, 15, 16 years old. Although you could argue at that age, what do you know? You know, you're you're indoctrinated, so you can't make a decision on your own when all you know is you're being told one, a heavily biased story, right? You're not really given the freedom to make a true decision in life. So whether you're baptized at 10 years old or 16 or 18 or 20, it really doesn't matter. If you grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, you're indoctrinated, and there really is no decision to be made. You're not making a choice. It's peer pressure and it's indoctrination, and there really isn't any choice. It's expected that you get baptized. So when I was like 14, 15 years old, my parents started bringing up the topic of baptism, and you want to get baptized. It was because they were being pressured by other people in their congregation that he's a nice young man. He I was carrying the mics. I had some limited responsibilities, and I was an eager young man. I liked to please people. I mean, I think a lot of young people in that religion have that disposition of trying to please other people, and that's also what's heavily used to get you to the point of baptism. It's there's definitely peer pressure. When you turn 15, 16 years old, it's sort of like, hey, they look at they look at your age and go, all right, it's time for you to get baptized. I mean, it's just sort of comes with the territory. So I got baptized at 16. My sister got baptized with me. I think at the time we're 3 years apart, so she was probably 13 years old, so she was a little younger. And I got baptized with a good friend of mine. He was around the same age as me. I remember at that time it was a big deal. I felt important. It kind of had, that day you had a feeling of importance. So I do have a recollection of that. And that was, the start of my career as a Jehovah's Witness. I was always reaching out for opportunities in the congregation. I was well liked. I was probably smarter than the average kid. I was always giving talks at a young age. I was well spoken. That's one of the reasons I wanted to do this channel. I'm pretty good at speaking and pretty good at communicating. And I just felt like it's time for me to do this. A lot of years have passed. I've thought about it for at least the last 3 years. I've thought about doing this channel, and watching other channels and, seeing other people have a YouTube channel. I just felt like this is something that I could easily do, and maybe I could help a few people out. Maybe I could add value to the community. There's plenty of people that have a channel like this already. So I got baptized at 16. I was carrying mics, adding responsibility. I auxiliary pioneered. Probably auxiliary pioneered when I was just out of high school. I graduated at 18 years old. I was auxiliary pioneering for probably just a little less than a year. And then I got accepted into Bethel, and that was something that my parents, mostly my mother, she really wanted to see me go to Bethel. I think it was it was a point of pride. That's the other thing that you find when you talk to ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, that a lot of it was all about appearances. So for her to have a son that went to Bethel, that would look very, very good. It was more about how things looked. It really, that's a lot of what happens in that religion. A lot of its appearances, and that's just a big part of it. So I went to Bethel at the age, I think I was 19, maybe at the time, 19 or 20, maybe just turning 20. So I went to Bethel. I was only there about 6 months. 6 7 months. I wasn't there very long. So normally they want you to stay a year. I was asked to leave Bethel, and the reason I was asked to leave was I had smuggled in some things that I probably shouldn't have smuggled in. I had some comic books that I smuggled into Bethel. A couple of them, you know, I just think it's silly, but a couple of them obviously had superpowers and things like that. So that was viewed in not such a good light. I also had a couple music CDs, a couple of the covers. I mean, they weren't like rap, they weren't heavy metal. It was not, it really, in my opinion, wasn't questionable music. But I think one of the covers, I think it was a Janet Jackson album. There's a Janet Jackson album with Janet Jackson sitting there. You can't see her breasts, but there was, somebody's holding her breasts. So, yeah. So, obviously, some of you are maybe familiar with Bethel. The housekeepers are, one of their main jobs is not really cleaning your room. It's mostly spying on the Bethelite that inhabits that particular room. They'll go through your drawers. They'll open stuff up. If you've got a bag, they literally will open up your bag and go through it. I mean, it's pretty intrusive. So I think what I had was I had a drawer and I had something like a bag in the drawer, and they opened it and they found my comic books and my CDs, and of course an overseer sat down with me, and he was real nice about it. He wasn't being a jerk. I do remember that he was actually trying to be pretty understanding, but he basically said, yeah, I think we found this, we're concerned, maybe this isn't the spot for you. We're making the recommendation that we're going to send you home. So I had to make a phone call to my parents. Obviously, well, that was a kind of a dramatic, difficult moment in my life. I remember being up late at night in anguish about it, praying to God, oh, how could this happen? I knew that what I had brought into Bethel was probably not smart, but I didn't view it as like I had committed some gross sin or anything like that. But it got me sent home. So I went from being the pride of the family to immediately, I think my mother was probably embarrassed because it was pretty well known that most Bethelites stayed a year. I was only there maybe 6 7 months. So I came home early, and I right away started auxiliary pioneering again. So it's not like I was in this spiritual funk or anything like that. I right away began auxiliary pioneering. I was made a ministerial servant in the congregation that I was serving, and then I ended up meeting a young lady who was also a witness that happened to be visiting her family that lived in the same congregation or the same congregation building as that I was in. Met her and we dated for a little while and ended up getting married. And we were married 10 years, so I was kind of a model, pretty much a model Jehovah's Witness for those 10 years that I was married. I got counseled here and there for some stupid stuff, but for the most part, I was a pretty good model Jehovah's Witness. And then one day I just, as most Jehovah's Witnesses, you're very repressed in that religion. You're not allowed to have sexual relations before marriage. So, most people have experiences in their young adolescence. When you're a Jehovah's Witness, you really don't. So, a lot of that's repressed. And of course, you repress anything, it's going to come out later in life. So I ended up having an affair on my wife, and that led me to, I ended up getting reproved. I was well liked. The elders liked me. So, even though I had committed this gross sin, um, they decided to reprove me. It didn't last long because I was out of my mind. I think looking back on it all, um, I really was kind of out of my mind. I had basically had fallen in love with this other woman. I couldn't, who is now my wife. I've been married to her 10 years next year, so we've been together a long time. We were together several years before that. Um, so the story ends well. I ended up having two children with my current wife. But it was torment for her. I was back and forth. Coming out of the religion was very, very difficult. It's not easy. So I want to tell my story to kind of help other people. First of all, to avoid this religion if at all possible. It is very destructive. And if you are in the religion currently, I mean, a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses are on YouTube all the time, and I'm sure many of them are watching videos of former ex-Jehovah's Witnesses with curiosity. There's nothing wrong with that. I kind of wish I had that available to me when I was younger. When I was going through all this, there was no YouTube, there was no internet, basically. This was back in 2006, 2007. So there really wasn't anything like there is today, where you've got channels that offer support, you've got support groups. There's a lot of avenues for Jehovah's Witnesses or ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that come out of the religion or out of the cult. I like to call it a cult because that's really what it is. So this is my introductory video. Gave you a little background on myself, how I ended up coming out of the religion in a very slow process. I basically was disfellowshipped. I started living my life separately. My parents, of course, were shunning me. They still shun me to this day. And it was a process of waking up from it. It took several years. My wife was very, very patient with me. She's really a saint. Put up with a lot of stuff from me. But it was a long process of basically deprogramming my brain because when you're indoctrinated into a cult like the Jehovah's Witnesses, it is a very difficult process to come out of it. So I definitely feel for people that are at that point now where they're deciding to come out of it, or they just got disfellowshipped and they're questioning everything. Why was I believing this? Why was I in this religion? Those are important questions. So my channel is to sort of just talk about my experiences. Maybe that will help people that are in the same or similar situation, or people that are trying to come out of the cult. That's the purpose for this channel. So this is my introductory video. Give you a little background on my experience growing up in the religion and coming out of it. And I'll go into more detail about topics like shunning, things like the peer pressure that youths in this religion experience, and also what's happening today, because really in the last 10, 15 years, there's been a dramatic change in many ways with the religion. Some of their viewpoints, some of their beliefs have changed. I think it's a lot harder to recruit people into the religion. Just the fact that, if they meet somebody at the door, these days you don't see too many people come to the door. I mean, it's probably been at least 2 or 3 years since I've seen a witness come to my door. Where I see them is doing the cart witnessing in public areas. And they basically just stand there and they wait for somebody to come up to the cart, or they wait for somebody to ask a question, so they just stand there. They don't really do much. That seems to be most of the witnessing that happens today. So these days, I think it's a lot more difficult for someone to be recruited into that religion, mainly because of the internet, the advent of the internet. People can easily Google Jehovah's Witnesses, what do they believe, and right away you're going to get, channels like mine or bigger channels like John Cedar's that go into why you don't want to become a Jehovah's Witness. So I think it's important. The power of the internet really is fantastic. In the old days, apostate literature was just, oh, it's Satan. It was viewed so destructively as agents of Satan. Nowadays, you find out it's just average people that basically decided to come out of the cult. They made informed decisions, and with the power of the internet, we now have the ability to access information much more freely. That's why you don't see social media accounts for Jehovah's Witnesses. I constantly, once in a while, I'll look and see, do my parents have a Facebook account? They don't. Does my brother and sister have a Facebook account? They don't, because they're still in the religion. And really, if you're a full-fledged Jehovah's Witness, they don't want you on the internet. They don't want you on YouTube watching channels about this information. Anything negative or any criticism at all towards Jehovah's Witnesses, right away, boom, that's apostate. Don't listen to it. It's of the devil. That's the tactic of most cults. They're all the same. So whether it's Scientology, Jehovah's Witness, they all have that same exact characteristic. They don't want you to direct any of your attention towards criticism, which is absolutely ridiculous. Anything you do today, I think it's absolutely vital to review the positives and negatives of anything. I bought this headset on Amazon. What did I do? I went through and read the reviews. I wanted to read the good reviews and the bad reviews. What did someone not like about it? What did someone really like about this product? And that's how most people think today, and that's how you really should think. You should have critical thinking. And most cults, of course, don't want somebody to have critical thinking. They want you to completely believe everything that comes down through the chain of command, right? So my channel is going to be dedicated. I don't know that I'm going to do this every week. Maybe I'll do a video once a month, maybe twice a month. Not too sure yet. I'm still working on, how often do I want to do a video. But I'm going to come up with topics and I'm going to dive into it. I'm not going to be pulling out literature and reading stuff. That's not my channel. I'm just going to be talking about my experiences and my knowledge, growing up in the religion, being in it for 33 years of my life. I was pretty familiar with it. I was, giving public talks. I was a ministerial servant. I had a lot of knowledge, ex-Bethelite, ex-pioneer. So I do have a lot of experience and knowledge in the area, and I'm going to speak to that and talk about my experiences and hopefully, shed some light on the religion, the cult, the religion, however you want to view it. I view it as a cult because of how they control people. And then I'm going to go also into the aspects of shunning and some of the destructive practices of the cult / religion and how they affect people to this day. So that's my first video. I appreciate everybody that took the time to watch this. I'm going to have another video probably sometime in January, so stay tuned. Maybe sooner, just depends. I'm going to try to come up with another topic to go over and give my thoughts on that. Appreciate everybody that was watching this video. Please like and share my video. I'd like to grow this channel. I know this is my first video. It'll probably take a while to grow my subscribers, but I would like to see this grow. So if you found it informative and helpful, please share the video. That's the best way to help it grow. Like and share it. That'd be awesome. I appreciate everybody that tuned in, and I'll see you guys soon. Thanks.